Well, hello, this is Peter Combs at P.O. Combs Asian Art and Bidamount.com, located in Gloucester, Massachusetts. In this video, we're going to take a look at the auction results from Christie's last week on their fine Chinese ceramics and works of art sale, as well as the Marchant sale. They both did pretty well. The fine Chinese works of art had an unsold rate of a little over 20-25%. One of the great pieces in the sale was this bronze on the cover, which we're going to talk about. Really outstanding example. And the Marchant sale did also quite well. They had about 20% unsold, but did well overall. The first lot we're going to look at is this really terrific Western Zhao large food vessel known as a U. It had provenance. It was being sold from the Sackler collection. Arthur Sackler bought it in 1967 for Sotheby's. And it bared the Gi clan mark, which is one of the oldest clans known in China, dating back to the Anyang period. Really exceptional piece. And then on to this, the Yayi Fang Ding. The name Yayi refers to a clan that lived during the Shang dynasty. If you had Ya attached to your name, it was basically meant that you were given the title of Marquis. This particular bronze has an amazing provenance dating back to the Qi collection in the 18th century. The patina on this is extraordinary, and it brought a huge amount of money, $3.3 million. These Fang Dings were highly important and prized to members of the Shang ruling elite. And next up was this really fine white marble figure of a seated Buddha in the Padmasana position. The carving is just exceptional. The details of the face, the way the robes are draped, the position of the hands, a really exceptional example. And it did very well, as you saw. Just a great piece. I like this one a lot. And next up is this incredibly rare Imperial Kisi 12-symbol dragon robe, probably made for the Empress Dowager during the late 19th century. The quality of the work on this is just impeccable, right down to the really fine Li Shu stripe at the bottom. This is an exceptionally high-quality piece, as it was made probably for the Empress, as they have theorized. Is loaded with auspicious emblems, and we're going to move in a little bit and take a look at the detail of some of the work on here. And you'll see that the dragon in gold thread is superbly well done, with the flaming pearl beneath him, and all of the little auspicious characters around him, the Shao marks, and the dragon at the upper edge. It's truly exemplary piece, and in near perfect condition, and it brought the price that it deserved. Another extremely rare lot in the sale was this pair of incredibly fine Zitan continuous horseshoe back armchairs known as Quan Yi. They were made during the 18th century. The structure of these chairs are absolutely amazing, with a sweeping crest rail supported by an S-shaped backsplat and vertical rear and front posts which continue through the rectangular seat to form the legs above a stretcher bottom. They're very fine. They came from the Rosenthal collection and had been bought in Hong Kong about 20 or 30 years ago. Just a fabulous set of chairs all the way around. Great collection. Also from the Rosenthal collection were this really fine pair of Huanhuali cabriolet stools made during the 17th or early 18th century. Just exceptional all the way around. Wonderful square tops with a nice matte seat on them, and very finely worked cabriole legs terminating in those scrolled feet. And you have these terrific looking humpback stretchers below a shaped apron on the underside at the top. The tops were just beautifully finished, and the color of the wood is what really, I think, sold these. They had a virtually untouched surface, and they were in remarkably good condition, and they did very well, deservedly so. Next up is this. This is a really incredible Kangxi period 12-panel Coromandel lacquer screen. This screen has so much going on it. I'm just going to tell you to go to the catalog and read about the symbolism on this. The central scene on the front, the back is also fully decorated, but the front depicts a couple of spotted deer beneath a pine tree. You have a wonderful wave pattern, waves in the ocean behind, with the Qilin looking up at a pagoda rising out of the mist. And then, of course, the borders are all filled with precious objects all the way around. It is spectacularly well carved from start to finish. take a few minutes to examine the detail. It's really quite incredible. I think this might have been one of the great buys of the day. I saw this and I liked it a great deal, and I thought it would do, unbelievably well. And it did fine. It brought a couple of $100,000, nothing to sneeze at. But just a remarkably fine, massive Kangxi screen with a lot of Ming influence on it. And there's the back of it, fitted with fan decorations and inscriptions from Ming masters, no less, from the Wu school. And here they are, all beautifully done. The script is done in the Ming style, which to some might make it a little bit difficult to date. But it's a Kangxi screen, and the Wu school became very popular during the late Ming and early Qing, the earliest part of the Qing dynasty. Truly an exceptional piece of work, and I think $200,000 was a pretty reasonable price for it. But it's well worth taking a look at. It's a fabulous piece. And then on to these, an incredibly rare pair of Qianlong Cloisonne enamel pricket sticks. These are amazing. Each candlestick has a slightly domed disc base. They're superbly enameled with lotus scrolls on a bright turquoise ground, encircling a smaller band of stylized flower heads around a central baluster-formed shaft decorated with bands of detached flower heads. This is a really amazing pair of sticks. And they also had, on the larger one, it had inscriptions with an imperial poem by Bing Wu and a cyclical date corresponding to 1786. You don't see these dated very often, but the quality of these were really quite fabulous. And they were very large. They were 15 inches tall. And they also had two seals on them, one by Guxi Chanxi and another one by Yuri Ziji. Just a great pair. Really fabulous. This was a really interesting little lot that was in the catalog. I don't know if everybody noticed it, but it was a very rare yellow glass, or Peking glass, pomegranate form water pot with a Qianlong mark on it. It was marking period, and it brought a lot of money. It brought $43,000. Peking glass hasn't gotten a lot of attention lately, but in some sales they seem to be, with the rarer pieces, doing quite well these days. This was a very fine example. It sold for 5 times its high estimate. Keep an eye out for them. Then you had this. This is a very rare, really rare, Qingbai lotus form bowl, cover and stand, all 3 pieces. The top of it has those wonderful little stamens on them, indicating the shape of a real lotus pod, with this spectacularly well-shaped base and a very beautiful glaze. Even the undertray is finely detailed with those lotus petals and then a central lotus blossom in the center. Really very nice. Came from the Peter Scheinman collection. He was an avid collector for many, many years. He died this past February in New York. He had donated things to Harvard Museum's permanent collection and was a familiar face around all the major auction houses and galleries in New York City. He had a great collection. This is just one of the pieces. Now on to one of the really rare porcelains in the sale was this, extremely fine and extremely unusual Yuan Yuhu Chunping vase, a pear-shaped vase made in the round, not faceted like many other Yuan vases. They're extremely rare. Hardly any of these were ever made. And what was most interesting about this is the incredible balance of the shape, this sort of sinuous shape to it, this well-rounded bottom, and then this perfectly flared mouth. The proportions on this were just absolute perfection all the way around. It's decorated with grape patterns and vines and melons. And as you saw, it did extremely well. This plate was one of the surprises in the sale. It's a spectacular 13-inch Kangxi Primavera charger. And what was interesting about it was that the design inspiration on it originated during the Song dynasty, when a set of block prints were done depicting farmers at work. And the Kangxi emperor, being quite the scholar, asked one of his court painters, a man named Zhao Bingzhen, to reproduce this series into woodblock prints. And this particular plate was number 8 in the series, an extremely rare pattern. The one on the left that you can only see part of was also on the sale. That one brought $50,000. But this was obviously the better of the two, just beautifully done and very carefully rendered, and it brought a good price. This was another surprise in the sale. It was only estimated at $40,000 to $60,000. Was this very interesting peach bloom glazed amphora. Had a very deep dark red color. They called it crushed strawberries. I'm not so sure about that. It looks more like copper red to me. But at any rate, it did extremely well. The potting on it was excellent, though, all the way around. It had been in a collection since the 1950s. It had been bought originally from the Ralph Chait Gallery in 1956. It had a nice unglazed high foot on it, and was beautifully done with the mark, and took off. Very surprising. One of my favorite pieces in the entire sale was this. I love monochromes. There's this really great tea dust glazed Narcissus bowl with lobed edges and a bracket feet on it. It had originally come from the estate of Samuel Peters in 1921, and then out of his wife's estate in 1943 when Park Benet Galleries, which later became Sotheby's, handled that sale. It's been in the collection ever since. But the color on this is just amazing. That goes to a very, very deep green, and then it thins to these browned edges on the trim and around the inside and on the rim all the way around. Just an exceptional example, and they're very, very rare, as you might guess. This particular example measured 8 inches in diameter and was in extraordinarily good condition, and as a result, it brought a lot of money. Did very well. Among the blue and white pieces that were offered was this, a really, really fine Yongzheng period 6-character seal mark underglazed blue deer and crane vase. Just superbly executed from top to bottom, very much in the manner of Qianlong, including the way that you have the spotted deer looking over his shoulder up at the crane, perched on the tree, and beautifully done Ruyi head band around the shoulder, and then a lappet base. Just of exceptional quality, got a lot of interest. It measured about 12 inches tall and did very, very well. Now on to the Marchant Collection. They had 50 lots, 40 of them sold, and they did pretty well. And they had some great things. One of the bronzes that caught my eye early on in their sale was this. I just love this. This was a very beautifully done double-gored incense burner with a hanging arm on top, comprised of 2 dragons clutching the pearl. The casting on this was just exceptional all the way around. If you take a look at the top, there it is, and then down you have these beautifully done raised lappets and that nice lost wax relief cover, and then the bottom, the handles are attached to extensions off of silk balls being played with by Fu lions. It has an apocryphal Zhuangdi mark on the bottom, as they often do. There's a detail of it. And the piece was in great condition. A similar example can be seen if you have a copy of Sidney Moss's book, The Second Bronze Age. They have one in there as well. And this did very well, and I thought it was just a great piece. If you're a fan of Blanc de Chine figures, you won't do anything better than this unbelievably great Dewa Guanyin from the late Ming Dynasty that they had. The quality of this was just stunning, and it was signed on the back in a double gourd by He Chaozhong, a very prominent potter of the day who produced these. The creamy glaze almost looks like vanilla ice cream. It is just superbly well done. The folds of the robes all the way around, they don't come any better than this. This is really a stellar example. And it brought a very good price, but I think it was well deserved. It measured about 7 inches tall and was just exceptional. Just a really exceptional example. Among the other porcelains in the sale that I think went through at a fairly reasonable, if not a bargain price, was this. It was a large Primavera iron red and gilt decorated rouleau vase. This was a big vase. It measured around 28 inches tall. It was highly unusual for its decoration, with this dominance of iron red with some gilt highlights and then traces of Primavera decoration on it. The scenes on the vase were particularly important. Though this type of vase would also have been popular in the West, it was the depiction of sort of the Confucian ideal of daily Chinese life, a happy, well-fed family pursuing interesting pursuits, togetherness, in a very beautiful environment. And lots of detail here. You have children playing outside around a balustrade near a pond, a little lily pond in their yard. And the other side of the vase depicts a woman sitting at a root table and additional children. She looks like maybe a grandmother. And these vases, this style of vase, were made in very small numbers. They didn't make a lot of them, so you're not likely to see them on the market very often, which is why I was rather surprised at the price. It did have a tiny blemish on the upper part of the rim, but I'm kind of surprised that it didn't bring more. I was thinking it might bring $80,000 or $100,000. Nonetheless, it was a great example and something you won't see very often. This was another jar that I thought was really fascinating and sale. It was a very large, 31-inch tall Yongzheng Balusters Jar with beautifully done famille rose enamels with a dominance of green. It's perfectly executed. It came from the estate of Lady Jane. She was a Staffordshire descendant of that family who were famous for helping Charles II escape Cromwell. Came out of her estate in around 1920. And the scene is illustrated to depict sort of idyllic life along either a river or a lake, typically lakes, of the life of a fishing family or fishing families with children all sort of well-fed and playing, and people enjoying an afternoon, people sitting around having drinks together, and you have these sort of gnarled scenes of willow trees along the shore. Just lots going on, very full of activity. Love the willow tree at the top. And it did fine. It did very well, and it's a jar with a wonderful history to it, which always makes it more interesting. Last and certainly not least was this very large 27-inch famille rose Qianlong Marchant period vase. It had a lot of interesting iconography on it. It was beautifully done, vibrant colors throughout. All right, and the scene on it is based off of the 14th century novel, The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, with Liu Bai and other official attendants approaching an opening gate, with Zhu Liang, he's sitting inside playing a qin, stringed instrument. And on the reverse panel, there are scenes of elderly scholars with boys in attendance on a terrace, all enjoying music and relaxing. The quality of this piece is just exceptional, and the vibrant color. You have to really look at the enamels on this. They were brilliantly colored, just spectacular amount of lavish use of yellows and reds and greens all the way around on this. And it was superbly well potted on top of it, with those nice big applied handles on the neck, and lots of detail everywhere, lots of auspicious symbols, Buddhist and Taoist emblems all over it. It was just a great jar. And it did very well, obviously. You saw what it brought, over $370,000. And that's it. And that's it for these two auctions. Thanks for visiting.